All right, what's up, y'all? Bati here. This is going to be a little bit different cast, a little bit different approach to the Battle Poker streams. This is going to be a YouTube only series, I think. I'm going to go over some old games, and in the future, I encourage players that want some help with their game to submit me replays, and we can do this together and go over some games. But this is going to be a Final Table Friday game from this last weekend, and instead of focusing on hyping it up and talking about players and stuff like that, I'm going to focus on more of the strategy, the education behind Battle Poker. I want to give people a way to learn how to learn about the game instead of just being is this good, is this bad? How to think about Battle Poker, both approaching it from a poker strategy and the uniqueness of the StarCraft 2 auto battler attached to it. So let's get started. I'll hopefully be pausing, slowing down a lot during the game. We'll see what we have to talk about. So let's start here. The hands. I can't lock that in. The hands here start at the 12 o'clock position and go down as you go around clockwise. So Beaver Teaser in the first hand is in the best position, acting last. Pokemon is in first position, worst position, acting first. So as you move down the list, as you move later position, your hand needs to be less and less strong to open up the pot. So if it, for example, checks down to Royal Ace, I would recommend that Royal Ace go ahead and raise. However, if Ninja makes the raise first with this Void raise, Royal Ace really should only be calling or folding here. Kal-El's in a really bad spot. He has a good count of DTs here, which is a great opening hand. Unfortunately, he's third to act out of 8 players, so he's not going to get to see a whole lot of what his opponents do before he makes that raise. In this spot, personally, I'd say about half the time I check, half the time I open the 4 or 5 chips. When you check, you're expecting somebody else to raise so you can come over the top and blast them out of the pot later. When you check, you're waiting for somebody else to raise. When you raise yourself, you're wanting to go ahead and thin the herd, get a bunch of people out. The worst thing that could happen in this position with DTs is that everybody checks all the way around and everybody gets a second card. That just gives people that second chance of drawing anything that counters DTs and taking away your claim to half the pot. But let's see what happens here. Let's see if Kal-El opens. Only a min raise. I can't stand that play. Not at a full table. Everybody has 300 chips, this being a Final Table Friday game. A min raise of one more big blind into a 300 blind stack means absolutely nothing. You're not getting any value out of it. You're not going to scare anybody away. Ninja makes probably the proper play here and re-raises to 16. Little bit high, actually. I probably would have aimed for 12 to 14, but 16 works. Royal Ace does call with the mutas. That's reasonable. Nobody else should really be in this pot. Kal-El may be Vendy if he's feeling froggy, but 8 Liberators is not a great start to the hand. Kal-El does need to be careful here because 2 people have already shown interest in the pot, and he doesn't know what Vendettis is going to do. The more players active in a DT hand, the worse for you. Alright. How do I guess I just P for pause. Okay. So a couple of developments. Kal-El is still playing just naked DTs. He needs to be really careful here. It's a little better than 50-50, I think, if I remember the math right, for 2 players across 2 cards to draw at least 1 counter to a DT. That can't be right. There's 7... I'll have to go back and look at the math again later. I'm sorry. But still, the fact that he's playing naked DTs into 4 cards is not a really good look here. He needs to check and probably fold to a decent-sized bet. Now, Ninja and Royal Ace have both picked up insane second cards. Ninja obviously now does counter the DTs on the board for Kal-El, so Kal-El is no longer a threat. He's also going to be able to snipe down anything bio. We don't have any upgrades on the board, so there's no sense in thinking oh, these guys are playing Zerg for sure. That's just going to be random coincidence. But you do cover all bio with the snipe, And of course, he shuts down the DTs, the any spellcasters with the EMP, stuff like that. Royal Ace, that's pretty good targeted damage with those mutas. The bounce DPS is helpful, but now that he has 7 carriers, he actually has like a victory condition. As long as those carriers live, he's going to crush pretty much anything that's visible in the game. This should be a pretty active pot. We see before I pause, Ninja raised at 69, a little bit over the pot size. That's pretty reasonable, I think, with it being this deep stacked. Royal Ace has a tough decision here. You do have a pretty good hand. I think this deep stack calling to the 85 total is pretty okay. The problem, though, is that you still have, I'm pointing at my monitor like y'all can see it, Kal-El here still in the pot. You do not want to play Muta carrier into 3 players. The Mutas, when they split up, they're just so much less effective. You get nothing out of them, and then you're playing just 7 carriers, which is still fairly strong, but there's a lot more that counters it out there. In this position, with it being the first card especially, if you don't have reads here, I'd say it's fine to call or fold, leaning mostly on calling. I would do like 75-80% calls here, 20% folds. The 7 carriers are definitely enough to kind of bluff check Ninja a little bit here. But again, with not knowing what Kal-El's going to do behind you, you have to be really careful not to stick yourself in a 3-way where you don't belong. He does make the call. Kal-El definitely needs to fold here. Like, you just don't want to play this deep of a pot against 2 other players. Here we go. Snipes coming out on the mutas. My computer lagging as it usually does first game of the day. There go the mutas. Pop, pop, pop. Void Rays are going to finish off the carriers. Ninja takes it down easily. Overall, well played by Ninja. I think he bet a little bit more than I would have, but he got away with it, so that definitely is good. Alright, so now we have Goldie in first position. And Pokemon here as last to act. Right here, we have 3 strong, powerful units and pretty reasonable counts across all of them, especially the Thor's being a max count of 8. Any 3 of these players should be the first one to open. I'm going to discount Kal-El. 19 Corruptors are strong. But I don't think in this early position you should really consider opening with them. I think you want to wait for somebody else to raise the pot and then just call behind. But I'm expecting a raise from the Ghosts, the HTs, or the Thors here. Alright, Ninja does raise with the High Templar. Royal Ace calls with Thors, very strong. We have Zerg upgrades. My computer's glitched, so I can't see how big they are. So Kal-El definitely looking good to come along. I do love the Thor call. You're not looking for them to be a win condition. You're looking for this potentially to be like a big multi-way hand. And Thors do extraordinarily well there. There can be an argument made for the 12 Cyclones. I wouldn't do it this early. Maybe when the pots are a little bit bigger, a little bit more worth drawing against. Like they're okay DPS. They certainly can't tank anymore. But it might be worth seeing a second card with them. What will be interesting to see if one of these players... well, actually, it would just have to be Vendettius. If Vendettius re-raises here with the Ghosts, Kal-El does call with the Corruptors. Good move. And Vendettius comes along. So here we are. Back to the second card, first position. Kal-El, first to act. This is a great card for him in a 5-way hand. He just needs to keep players in the pot. Those Corruptors are going to be great as tanks. The Tempests are going to hang back in a 4 or 5-way pot and hopefully just not get hit. Um, whoa, keep doing that. What else do we have here? Beaver Teaser needs to get out of the hand. Ninja picked up really no backup, so he needs to get out. Royal Ace, still, you're not thrilled with only 4 Archons. This is a lot of middling to lower hand. Vendettius does go ahead and make the raise with the Ghosts and Lurkers in front. That is an awfully big raise, though. Interesting for everybody to call here. And unfortunately, as soon as those Tempests get touched, they're just going to be done for. Thors and Ghosts doing an excellent job against them. Thors should clean up the Ghosts and then clean up the Corruptors. Very nice hand for Royal Ace. All right. Kal-El in decent position for his first hand here with 8 Void Rays. Pokemon in late position with the 6 Carriers, definitely good. Beaver Teaser in late position with 16 Queens. Depending on the action to you, that's definitely something you're going to think about playing. Kal-El is the one in a very unique situation here. For being first to act, his hand is very borderline. I'd really want to see like 10, 11 Void Rays to be willing to open his first to act. Here, I'd recommend like maybe raise 20% of the time just to keep people on their toes. The other 80%, just go ahead and check it. Let somebody else raise and then reassess when it comes back around to you. Vendettius should not be thinking a raise here, not with only 8 Ghosts. Good check, good check. Yep, here comes Beaver Teaser, decides to check the Queens. That's reasonable. Actually, let me back that up. I think checking here with the Queens sometimes is fine, but when you've seen how aggressive some of these players are already getting, with the hand like Queens, it's not bad to go ahead and raise it to like 4 here and just see how everybody else reacts. You've already seen over half the table check. It's possible just nobody has anything and you can take down the antes for cheap. However, you could trigger a chain reaction of like 11, 33, 75, and then suddenly it's a very easy decision back to you. Or you could just get a couple of calls at 4 and you get to see a second card for cheap. But I mean, checking here is okay sometimes. Pokemon realizes the power of those carriers, pops it up to 11 over the size of the pot again. Not quite a fan of overbetting the pot like that. It is useful in some scenarios. You are trying to build a pot in a deep stack situation, so it's not horrible. But I feel like until you establish like sort of what people are going to go for at the table, betting that big is going to lose you more than you're going to gain. 4 Thors, definitely a good pickup for Pokemon. Now you have something you can leave in the back. You would definitely play your carriers as your tanks up front. Kal-El now has the added bonus of being able to deal with DTs, has strong anti-ground. You're still kind of leaning on your Void Rays. However, you are suited here with 3-3, which makes them both very lethal. Beaver Teaser, again, picked up basically nothing and needs to not be a part of this hand. Pokemon needs to bet here. Okay, good raise, good raise. Beaver Teaser comes along. I do not like that call whatsoever. It is going to shut down the Thors, but that's, I mean, that has to be an awfully specific read for that to be a profitable call. Still going to have trouble with the Oracles, draining a lot of the heal energy. I think we're going to see a split pot. Yeah, 10-second timer, that'll do it. Alright. Here we have Vendettius first to act with 12 ghosts. 12's a little low for my liking for first position. You can raise it sometimes here, but I would again recommend mostly checking and seeing what everybody else does. Pokemon and Kal-El, the only other ones that are reasonably playable here, mostly just because they're in last position. Pokemon, if it checks around to him, should raise. Kal-El, if it checks around to him, should raise. And then Vendettius can reevaluate from there. I can't see anybody else playing this hand. So nobody actually elects to raise. This is something that you shouldn't see very often at a high-level table. You really want to make sure you're playing your position. I like anybody out of Pokemon, Goldie, Kal-El in these late positions, even with not a great hand, should have raised some percentage of the time. And seeing it check all the way around, especially when Kal-El has such a decent drawing hand with the 27 Marines, put some chips in the pot, man. See who's serious. Build a pot so that if you do hit that second card, which Kal-El, by the way, you did with the 15 Liberators, you've already built a little bit of a pot for yourself to work with. You can size your second bet bigger, make a bigger profit overall in the hand. Some interesting pickups to note. Vendettius now does have 21 mutas. Pokemon picks up another 3 carriers. 5 Thors, still not really playable, but they're there. Let's see what happens. Vendettius still in first position, really sucks for him, but should raise some percent of the time here. He does have a decent hand. Okay. With Baneling Carrier, this should be some percentage of a raise. Okay. Goldie should probably not enter the hand here. Kal-El absolutely needs to put some chips in this pot. And he does not. Wow. Liberator's doing work. Those Liberators are going to win. And to think, if Kal-El maybe would have raised a little bit, he could have made some money there. What can you do? Alright. Alright, so Ninja, first to act, 22 queens, very strong. Antes have double raised. We are now at 3. So everybody is sitting on roughly 100 blind pot. So they've lost 2/3 of their chip stack from that anti-raise. Still not quite enough to really affect how everybody's going to play. But now you're more of like 3-4 bets away from an all-in versus like, 300 bets deep, you're going to be like 5-6 bets away from an all-in. So still openable some percentage of the time. I still like checking a lot in first position almost no matter what you have, just because you're in such bad position. The real scary ones here, though, we have Pokemon in middle position with 13 Liberators, but Vendettius in last position with a perfect 25 Raven count. And currently there's nothing on the board to really hard counter those Ravens, so they will win the hand no matter how it comes down. So it's going to be it's going to come down to what Vendettius wants to do when the action comes around to him. Obviously, he's going to be cutting backflips every time we see somebody else before him raise. Min raise by Ninja to start it off. Interesting. I still do not like these min raises. They don't really accomplish much of anything. Alright, so let's take a second and talk about bet sizing. There's already 33 chips in the pot here, right? We want to think about what kind of odds we want to offer the next person in line to call our bet profitably. Let's say we want to give him like really bad odds, just a really bad price to call. Let's bet exactly 33 chips. That means Ninja's next decision means that he needs to feel like he can win the hand at least 1 out of every 3 runs to make it a profitable call. Let's change up the numbers real quick and say that there's 100 in the pot and Vendettius bets 100, right? That means there's going to be 200 in the pot versus Vendettius 100 bet for Ninja to call. Ninja has to call 100 to win 300. Because his 100 goes in, Vendettius' 100 goes in, there's already 100 in the pot. So when I'm talking about pot odds, this is what I'm talking about. Now, as the pot grows versus that big bet we're going to make, each individual player coming up is going to get better and better odds to call. So it does sometimes cause a chain reaction. If you make a big bet and somebody calls and there's still more people to act after that, those other people are getting incredibly better odds to stay long in the hand. So that is definitely something you have to work into your bet sizing. Think about what you're trying to accomplish with your bet and how your opponents are going to perceive your bet before you just throw a number out there. Now, with the 25 Ravens, I personally would absolutely bet pot here. 33, maybe size it down a little bit, like maybe 25 to 30. But something really, really big here. You want like one person to call you, ideally with Ravens, and you want them to have a big hand. So let's see what happens. He does make that big pot size bet to 30. I love it. Ninja instantly calls with the queens. Okay. Royal Ace needs to get out of this hand. If it was just Vendettius in the pot and Ninja had folded, Royal Ace has a situation where he can call here because you have a pretty reasonable suspicion that Vendettius has some strong kind of air unit with his strong raise, and those Widow Mines are going to have a really nice shot at taking them out if there's something along the lines of Corruptors, Liberators, Vikings, Mutalisks, stuff like that. Anything that's going to like stack up really nicely. But with Ninja coming along, those mines are going to split. They drop in efficacy very, very quickly. He doesn't need to be in here. Then we get to Pokemon. Again, Liberator's a very strong one-on-one hand. They don't like being split up. When you already see the other 2 players here involved in the pot, I think you need to give yourself a reality check. It's a strong hand. You're up against 3 other players saying they're strong. Let this one go, buddy. Good job, he does. Alright. Ninja, 12 Oracles. Not really going to help much against what he needs to deal with. 12 Archons for Ace. Those can be pretty tanky, but we're still dealing with 25 Ravens. I don't think it's going to be helpful at all. Vendettius, I mean, only drawing the 19 Hellions, he can't be thrilled with that. There'll be a little bit of a distraction, maybe at best, but we're really just looking for the Ravens to put down their turrets here. Vendetti is still in last position. He gets the advantage to see what Ninja and Royal Ace are going to do before he has to make a decision. I can absolutely see Royal Ace making a raise here, thinking he's drawn into a better situation. But remember, a lot of times in poker, when you get to a new street, you want to check to the last aggressor, expecting them to go ahead and hit you again. I think Royal Ace in general is going to need to slow down here, check more often than anything. But I feel like he's just going to go ahead and fire out a bet. Let's see. All right. I don't like this play, and here's why. Yes, it's a sucker bet. Like, it's a very small bet. He basically bet like 1/5 the size of the pot. So he's really giving excellent odds for people to call. But you don't want to put anything in the way for somebody to call when you have such an excellent three-way hand like the Oracle Queen. You shut down DTs, which is great. You have a very slow unit that supports itself extremely well, which is amazing. Let it stay three ways. Don't give away the strength of your hand. Don't try to bait anything out. If the other players are going to bet, let them bet. But there's always a chance that Vendettius was just screwing around. He missed his second card. Now he's going to check behind. We already see that Royal Ace called. I disagree with this call so much. You don't have the hand strength here with Vendettius sitting behind you. Vendettius should re-raise this. He's got 227 left. It wouldn't be a bad idea just to go all in, I think, personally. There it is. Beautiful. It should be an easy hand for Vendettius to take down. Oh, those turrets are placed really far back. That's a lot of mana wasted. But now they're surrounded. Ooh, buddy. That's a lot of DPS coming in. Yep. Good job, Vendettius. Getting the maximum value out of that hand. Alright. We now have Royal Ace first to act. Definitely not a raising hand. Honestly, I could see Vendettius opening the pot here. I don't think anybody else is really going to have the power to do so. I don't really think anybody else is going to have the power to call. Let's see if he gets around to Vendettius, see what he does. This should be a raise. Yep, there it is. And then it should fold all the way around, I believe. Wow, Blazer calls. Okay. I don't like Colossi. They are extremely vulnerable to basically everything. They do good AoE damage. It's consistent damage. It is not burst damage. So they're not going to kill anything very quickly. They need something to protect them in order for them to do their damage, and it's just hard to do that with a unit that's vulnerable to both ground and air attacks. 53 Zergling is not what you want to draw with the Colossi. Vendettius has great coverage for his disruptors. That should be a bet and a fold. Yep. All right, we now have Blazer first to act with a single Void Ray. Definitely not going to do anything there. Beaver Teaser, something you could consider opening with. 19 Phoenix, they are fairly versatile. That's a fairly good count of them. You do have Protoss 3/3 on the board. I would love to see an open from Beaver Teaser, even though he's in second position. You're maybe gonna get the oracles to call. The Thors could consider it. Royal Ace with the wild cards will definitely come along. Beaver teaser checks. Okay, Goldie could possibly raise this. Let's it go. When it comes to Royal Ace in last position, if nobody's raised, he should. 19 wild cards is a great count. There's Vendettius opening it up with the 5 Thors. Keeping that aggressive streak going. Royal Ace makes the call. Not giving away the strength of his hand just yet. Beaver Teaser plays along with the 19 Phoenix with 3-3. Also trying to conceal the strength of his hand. Alright. Beaver Teaser draws nothing. Royal Ace draws basically nothing. Vendettius gets some DPS to put behind the Thors. This is one of the few situations I would say you want the Thors in front. You don't have much of a victory condition between these two units. You're just going to have to brute force through everything that whatever spawns. You're going to hope the Beaver Teaser finds a fold and you're up against just the wild cards. But let's see. I don't. 9 into 51. Yeah, you're just giving such great odds for anything to call. Both players should come along on this. That's what I don't like about these tiny little bets. You're not even really gaining that much as far as chips in the pot, so you're not profiting much off of it. And you're not scaring anybody away who's already invested at that point, so what's the purpose of the bet? Nice. Alright. Beaver Teaser up first. Nothing worth betting. Nothing worth betting. No. Kal-El should be the one to open. Vendettius should probably come along, depending on the size of the open. Yeah. I'd say with 3 battle cruisers, about 50-50 call fold. I don't think anybody else is going to play. Goldie might come along, but I wouldn't recommend it. Alright, this is an interesting spot. Kal-El doesn't want to be in this spot. You just let everybody check around on the first card. Now everybody has a complete hand, and you're still basically only playing Ravens. Not only that, you don't even have max counter Ravens. You have 17 Ravens. You need to bet and bet big. You need to scare people away from this pot. Unfortunately, Vendettius can find a call here. Ninja. If Vendettius comes along, Ninja might find a call. Goldie, again, might find a call. Suited. I mean, Banelings are great. You don't, as Kal-El, want this pot to go any more than one-on-one at the showdown. So, like I said, you need to bet and bet big and scare people away from this pot. Make it like 21. Raise of 18. That's a little bit too big. Now it's kind of obvious what you're trying to do. Yeah, see, now you're getting calls. Although I think Ravens might still be good here. That's not a big enough count of anything, I don't think. Interference Matrix shuts down the VCs. Ravens being taken out by the Phoenix. Oh, Ravens are dry now. Now, is there enough time to finish them off? 2 Colossi left. 10-second timer. Let's go. One more. Yeah. See, that's, again, like you... When you draw a hand as good as Ravens, you need to go ahead and put pressure on the first card. Don't let people draw to that second card. Don't let them think they have a chance. You want to get it 1v1 with somebody that has a good hand. If nobody has a good hand, you just want everybody to fold because that's what's going to happen. Alright, we're back to Pokemon being first to act. 22 High Templar, definitely a hand we can open here. If we open it in first position, I like a 15 raise to 20 all day. Just under half the size of the pot. Still gives people some good odds to call. The thing with High Templar is that you want them to have good odds to call. If you size your bet up with High Templar, you're going to size it up towards like the capital ship range, the bigger units that aren't really susceptible to storm. So if you size it a little bit lower, units like Marines, units like Adepts, units like Ghosts, well, yeah, you still counter Ghosts. You know, things like that get the odds to come along as well, which you already counter, and then you're just looking for something supplementary on your second card that can deal with whatever else is on the table. It just puts you a step above your opponent's calling range, so you have better odds of facing something that you're already ahead of. All right. Again, one of these two players probably should have put something in the pot just to see if anybody's interested. It doesn't have to be a huge bet. Make it 3x the blind. Make it 15 to go. You know? Um, Pokemon's probably the only one that would have found a call there. Maybe Ninja with the 25 Hydras. But with Terran 3/3 on the board, that's not a good idea most of the time, I don't think. Um, See, now you have Goldie, Capital Ships, and Ultralisk. Storm's not going to touch them. Kal-El has the Oracles and Zerglings. If the Oracles get into play, that's some trouble. Vendettius has Cloaked Banshees now to support some Ravens. I mean, that's pretty big. Like, yeah, somebody should have put some chips in the pot. Either Pokemon first to act, or Beaver Teaser, or Blazer in second position. Now you've got this big cluster where everybody's gone from like kind of crappy hands to like now you have some playable hands, and it's gonna get a little messy. So let's see. I could see Pokemon betting out now like 30 or so. 39? Okay. Pot size bet. I think Vindy can find the call here. Look at that, 830 kills. What a beast. Wow, okay. Now let's talk about this. Um, Ninja, Royal. I mean, yeah, Vendetti's he's in first place, so it's a moot point. I shouldn't even be looking. Vendetti's is basically saying if you want to continue playing this hand, you're all in. Um, the problem is that nobody has odds to call. So you're giving away that you have more or less an S class hand. Um, so you're gonna get called exactly by like High Templar Ghost, High Templar Viking, Ghost Corruptor. Like, like you're gonna get like anti-air, anti-spellcaster comps only that are gonna wreck you. You're letting your opponents play perfectly. You want to bet an amount that they can make mistakes with. You want to bet an amount there that are like, oh, well, maybe he's messing around with some ground units and my 53 Banelings can come along for the ride. A bet of this size, you simply polarize your opponent's calling range to either the nuts that counter you or they're just going to fold. So, like I said, you're not giving your opponent the chance to make a mistake when you bet that much. See, and we have the counter right here. Storm is going to be able to wreck the Banshees. Feedback, of course, is going to shut down the Ravens here as soon as my computer stops lagging. Oh my goodness, there it is. And you just doubled up your second place rival because of that move. Alright. Goldie here, first to act. Nothing really good here. Nothing really good. Pokemon, definitely a strong opener. Lead position with 20 Phoenix. If it gets around to him, he should definitely take a shot at it. I could see Royal Ace opening the pot with 17 Infestors. I wouldn't recommend it. I touched on this earlier in Discord when I got some criticism about my placement of Infestors on the tier list. They don't counter much. They really don't. They're complementary to some units that help, but Neural Parasite is very finicky. It's not reliable. They only counter units on a one-for-one basis. Fungal is not reliable. Fungal does not do that much DPS. Fungal basically counters like Baneling, Marine, Ghost, Reaper. Doesn't even hit the Ghost. I forgot about that. They're going to get EMP'd. I mean, I just don't see them as that good. But a lot of people like to play them aggressively, so let's see what Royal Ace does. Royal Ace does open up the Infestors. Pokemon should come along here. Actually, min raises. Now, in this situation, a min raise on top of a raise is not the worst thing in the world. You are kind of specifically denying odds to the players behind you, to Goldie, Kal-El, Vendetti's Ninja, who haven't entered the pot yet. So they're going to be looking at 30 on top of their 5 already invested instead of just 15. But you're still giving Royal Ace, the original raiser, pretty good odds to call. So it's kind of a targeted raise saying like, hey guys, just leave me alone. I just want to play this guy one-on-one. Again, kind of telegraphs what you're trying to do, but you give such bad odds to anybody calling behind you that you have kind of a good read on them if they do come along. You know that they have to have something fairly strong. Alright, this is a pretty reasonable pickup for Royal Ace. Anything Neural Parasited is probably just going to attack whatever's already in range and not move, so the Ravagers can bile them. 9 Lurkers, definitely a decent start. Put them in front. They're a little tanky. They do great DPS at the front line. Let's see what happens. I think Pokemon's going to take this, but we'll see. There go the Biles. Ooh. Couple more Phoenix going down. Here's the pickups. Oof. Oof. They're fighting back. It's going to be a split pot. Very nice. Well played. Alright. Kal-El here. 10 Tempest. You know what? I'm going to say it. This is one of the few situations I would not terribly mind a min raise here just to open it up. I think people are going to read it as you trying to thin the herd for cheap, and they'll be a little more likely to come along, which is exactly what you want with 10 Tempests. You want a huge 8-way pot. You want those Tempests to chill in the back, do some damage from afar, wait for everybody else to kill each other, and then swoop in for half the pot. Beaver Teaser, depending on his read, could play these Banelings if you are. I was going to say, yeah, like you definitely want to play him aggressively. Pokemon, 24 Stalkers, the start of a good hand, depending on the size of the raise to him, should be a call. Let's see here. Vendettius aggressively raises with only 10 wild cards. Vendettius definitely playing an aggressive game here, more so than he normally does. Pokemon should be calling this, I think. Yes. Goldie should get out of the way. Kal-El depends on your feel. I would side more towards a fold in this situation than a call. If Goldie folds, which Goldie should fold. If Goldie calls, okay, Kal-El now should come along. Yes. Alright, so let's talk here. Vendettius has a pretty decent hand here. We have Terran 2-2 on the board. He has 46 Marines in back. If you spawn something tanky in the 10 wild cards, he's golden. 16 Oracles for Goldie. Definitely a strong pickup. Unfortunately, she still can't really do anything to air units, so the Tempests are going to be relatively safe. What we're going to be looking for is Stalker versus Tempest. If the Stalkers get distracted by stuff on the ground and get their numbers like halved or whatever, those Tempests are going to chill out and be totally fine. If the full number of Stalkers ends up fighting the Tempests, those Tempests are probably screwed. But of course we still have to see if the betting is going to leave everybody in. That is a large raise from Vendettius, hitting exactly the size of the pot. He's playing this hand very aggressively. I would say if you're going to make that play with this hand, size your bet down to half the size of the pot, so you're not entirely committed if somebody comes over the top of you. 46 Marines and 10 wild cards only is not what you want to be like going stacks with this early in the game. That may be enough to get folds though. Kal-El already needs to be out of the hand. He's effectively out. Yeah. What are you doing with that call? It's going to work, but that is not a call I would recommend anybody make. My goodness. That is either an incredibly specific read or just crazy dumb luck. Alright. Another interesting situation. Vendettius with very high DT count first to act, 23. This is a great spot to just check as fast as you can. Like, make it look like you don't have anything. Let it come back around to raise to you, and then just blast somebody out of the pot. You want minimal resistance with DTs. You want it to be one-on-one, for sure. Gives you less of a chance of running into a counter. And a lot of the high-end calling units are not detectors. Ravens obviously are. But like there a lot of the other detector units work well in tandem with something else. So if you're only up against like an S tier unit, as long as it's not Ravens, you're safe for half the pot. So you have pretty decent odds to at least split, if not start like a decent hand that you can carry with. So yeah, I'm still gonna say Vendetti to check here. Okay. Unfortunately, these guys have shown they are not going to be aggressive. They do not have a hand to be aggressive with. We're going to see everybody down to a second card, which is not what you want with DTs. And Vendettius draws the mothership. Also not what you want to see with DTs. That's very unfortunate. Vendettius is definitely done with the hand here. Just check it. Let it go. Nobody else has a whole lot to play with. I could see Ninja making a raise. I could see Royal Ace playing. Beaver Teaser potentially. Pokemon now has 4/4. That's a little scary. Kal-El does too, but I'm not worried about Hellion Hellbat. There's going to be a little bit of action here. I don't think there's going to be much. Let's see how it plays out. Vendettius needs to be done with this hand. That is not good. Like, he's lucky there are no counters to the DTs. That's insane odds for 7 players with full counter cards not to hit a DT counter. Beaver Teas are going to chop for half the pot. Ooh. There we go. Sorry. Alright. Ninja up first with 3 Archons, not playable. 10 Void Rays for Royal Ace, definitely playable. Let's see him pop it up to like 18 to 24. Should be folds pretty much all the way around the rest of the table. Zerg 2/2 not really helping anybody this time around. Do keep in mind when you're making your reads and your decisions at the table the upgrades that are available. Generally, when Protoss are Terran on the table and you don't have Protoss or Terran units, you want to be worried. With Zerg, less so. Zerg units are a little bit more polarizing. Either they counter you or they don't. It's not like upgrades are going to make a huge difference for most of them. It's not going to change like Zerglings into suddenly being playable, you know? Yeah. Now, I mean, there are definitely some situations where they do come into play, but for the most part, Zerg upgrades are less worrisome than Terran or Protoss. Blazer does come along with the 2 carriers. He now picks up a mothership. It still does not look good for him. I can't believe he would call this. Okay, good fold. Good fold. Alright.
Sorry, I don't understand. The mic's off.
There. Won't have to worry about that anymore. Royal Ace, first to act. 3 Adepts, definitely not going to play that. Blazer, 25 Widow Mines. We've seen him do it before, I believe, so we might do it again. If not, Beaver Teaser with 20 DT is definitely here to open the pot. Nobody else really has a whole lot, so let's see what happens. Beaver Teaser should raise here. Wow, okay. Gonna be lots of checks. Kal-El making the min raise with Zerg 1/1, 19 Hydras. Not the worst play, but if you're gonna raise, at least one more unit. Make it 24 to go instead of 16. Vendettius does call with the 1/1 lurkers now that he's getting good odds. Beaver Teaser calls with the 20 DTs. Alright. Beaver Teaser drawing 7 wild cards. Not a huge pickup for DTs. You still want to put the DTs in the back to try to protect them from premature EMPs, feedback, stuff like that. Vendetti is here. I'm going to actually argue that as long as this pot looks multi-way, you want the queens in front. You need those healing queens up front. You need their anti-air damage. Let the lurkers come around from the sides, burrow on the sides, help cover them a little bit. If it goes 1v1, lurkers in front is okay. I still think you can go queens in front. That's kind of, I think, more of a personal choice. But multi-way, definitely you want queens in front here. Kal-El, I kind of think the same way. Like, you want Broodlords in front, Hydras in the back. You want those Broodlords to be able to get the first shots of Broodlings off, so the other units are confused by the Broodlings and fighting them. So the Hydras can come up behind and start their DPS and not get messed with. Pokemon just needs to not be in this hand anymore. Kal-El was the initial raiser. He should continue that momentum here and make it like 30 to go. Okay, 42 is good. That works. Vendetti's quick calls. Beaver Teaser's in there. Pokemon needs to fold. Pokemon needs to fold. Alright. Here's why we put the lurkers on the side. With DTs in front here, those lurkers are going to get eaten up alive. The lurkers are going to fight directly down here. Some of the DTs are going to come in from this angle and not get hit by the lurkers. If instead you had the queens up here, lurkers back here, the lurkers have to fill in around the sides, so they're going to fire in a cross pattern, and they're going to splash those DTs and take care of them. Oh wow, that actually worked out really well for the lurkers. Holy crap. Still just not enough because of that split. Now they're coming on your back line on the queens, taking care of those. Like, that's not a good look. I don't think he even lost a single DT. Well, there's one down. All right. So I'm going to take a break here. We're 25 minutes into the game. This video is already an hour long because I keep pausing it to talk. I'm going to finish this in a second video. Come back to it a little bit later. But let me know on Discord or in the comments what you think, what you'd like to see more of, what I can do better to help teach y'all. Yeah, I'm here for everybody's learning and enjoyment and etc. etc. So hit me up. Let me know what you'd like to see. See you later.